Hey, hello. You have made it. I have made it. We are here together again. That means it's Thursday. It's January 26th. Uh, it's a great day. I'm super excited to be here. Um, Things really started off pretty strangely this year for the live stream of consciousness, with guests and scheduling and getting sick and all of that. But today, everything is back on track. I'm super excited for tonight's guest. It's going to be an amazing, amazing show, and yeah, things are good. Things are good. So I'm going to kick it right off because there's going to be a lot to talk about tonight. My special guest tonight, her name is Lynne Laborde Eastman. She is just so many things. I'm going to let her tell you all of the things that she does. But I am super excited to share the story of how we met. I think that's a great way to introduce her. Uh, but I want to have her on screen when I do it. So I'm going to introduce her without that introduction. I'm going to let her sit here for the introduction. Welcome to the live stream, Lynne. How are you doing?
I'm awesome, Michael. Thank you so
Oh,
much for having me here, babe. I appreciate it.
oh, I'm so happy that you said that you would come here,
Of course.
and that you're here right now, and we're about to share some really good stuff. I'm excited to talk to you. Um, so the story of how we met, I think discussed it a couple of times because to me it really stood out. I was kind of in this place where I was meeting all sorts of people who practiced all these different spiritual modalities. People who were psychic mediums, people who read Akashic records, people who were channelers, all of which you are. um, and I was just really resonating with these people and becoming good friends with them and really learning a lot about myself. And when I was trying to remember who it was that introduced us, I went all the way back in our text messages to find the message. And hold on a second, let me just share my screen here. Um, so, so there's a woman named Terry Leone, who is a mutual friend of ours, a wonderful, wonderful woman who I had been talking to, and she recommended I get in touch with you. She said you should really contact Lynne. She started this thing called Soma in Huntington, and just contact her. And I just reached out to you on Facebook, just randomly. I was like, okay, everything felt right with what Terry was saying, and this was our conversation. I said, hello there. You said, hey. I said, Terry Leone gave me your name and suggested I reach out to you. You said, cool. I love that woman. What's up? And I said, she's special for sure. And you said, she was beyond a magical creature. So already we're off to good. And I'm feeling a little energized, which was really cool because I had just really gotten in touch with that whole aspect of existence, right? Being aware of that energy exchange that's happening. And I said I was trying to tell you why I contacted you, and I said, well, I'm not really a light worker per se because at that time I was again I was meeting all these people with these special gifts like psychic medium, and I hadn't been in touch with any of those very specific gifts, although I was still me. And when I said I'm not really a light worker per se, you said I don't believe that for a moment, and I remember like we had never spoken. I was just reaching out to you on text. This was just over text, the electronic medium, and I got chills. I was just like, holy crap, like what the hell just happened? And then I said, I'm a graphic designer, photographer, video guy, and you said, cool. And I said, whoa, because I think I was tingling at that point. And you said photographers work with light. And I was just blown away. It was again like another blast of chills that I got, and it was just amazing. You said we're all light workers. That's my take. I said I love you already, and then I said, but you knew that, and that was our first conversation. And
I'd completely forgotten about that. I remember meeting you when you and Lawrence showed up to film Sarah. When they
well, yeah,
hosted,
yeah, yeah.
and I
Oh,
didn't, and then I remembered that we had that conversation from Terry. I mean, when guys reach out, I'm like, what do you want? you know? And as soon as you said Terry Leone, it's like I let the walls come down,
right,
you know?
right.
But yeah, I just remember looking at your energy and I'm like, this guy is a wizard, man. you know?
It was just amazing. So I just have to recognize some people. We got the quiet healer here saying hello. We've got Tim, who may be in Brazil right now, saying hola. We got Julie, and
Hi,
then
hi,
Julie,
Jill.
yay, then I'm a light worker too. And Julie is amazing. I don't know if you know Julie, but she is amazing. She just came to me through the live stream of consciousness, and she's
Mhm.
just like in this download mode of just like awareness and awesomeness. So
Beautiful.
she's always here, and I'm glad to see everybody here. But I do have to start before we get into everything about you, which is so much amazing stuff, by asking you the live stream of consciousness question,
Yeah.
and that is just and you can expand upon it as much as you want, but kind of a short answer if you've got one. I know it doesn't always come that way, but what is consciousness? What does consciousness mean to you?
Mm, mm. I love this question. To me, consciousness is that kind of effervescent, ephemeral life force energy that runs in, as, and through all of existence. I had this
Hmm.
stunning, stunning realization today. It was like Jesus came and did Shaktipat on my head. And I was talking with a friend about the ego. And he's like, my ego this and my ego that. And all of a sudden I was like, you know what? The ego is the shadow of the Holy Spirit.
Mm.
So God gave everybody the Holy Spirit as like our companion through all of it.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we've just like been playing with the dark side of it. And I
Wow.
think consciousness is the thing that has us go, oh, this is where I get to choose dark, or this is where I get to choose light. I think
Mm.
consciousness is the very essence of what allows us to have free will.
Oh, I love that. I love that. It's the moment of realizing you can choose dark or light. I really,
Yep.
that's, see,
Yep.
the great thing about that question I love is that everybody's answer is a little bit different, but they all kind of fit together and make this big growing
Yeah.
definition of what consciousness is. Amazing, amazing. I see some new people out there. What's up, Shari? Welcome. Thank you for coming.
Hey,
Totally excited to have you here. Love when people come and give their energy. What's up, Venus Starshine? What's up,
Sherry.
Carla?
Sherry is one of my students. Carla is one of my students and one of my friends. This is
Yeah, me
so fun.
too. Yeah, yeah. I've been working with Carla on the Violet Flame and
Oh,
all sorts of amazing, amazing stuff. Yeah.
I've taught hundreds and hundreds of people to read the Akashic records, and as far as I'm concerned, Carla is the best. She's
Ooh,
extraordinary with reading the Akashic records.
ooh.
Extraordinary.
I love to hear that. I'm gonna have to
Great.
m- hit on her a little bit.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome. We talk about a lot of stuff. We have a lot of great conversations, but a recommendation from you is golden.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. That's
Right on.
awesome. And Julie B saying, "Which wolf do we feed?" There you go. That's a good analogy. I love that story too.
Yeah.
Um, so okay, so I love that answer. Totally passed the first test.
Oh,
The
thank God.
second
I,
test is
I get to live another day.
the second question, the second part of the question, and it's related, and it may be something that you tell me, hey, I can remember this. This is the way it has always been for me,
Hmm.
which I think is everybody's answer when they start to really dig deeper. Um,
Hmm.
but the question is like, obviously, your belief system is that there's something beyond what we've been taught, in the school system and kind of in the layers of
Yeah.
society that we grew up in. Was there a specific moment that you remember that you realized that things were not as they seem?
Yeah. I was 11, and my mom gave me. We're very voracious readers in my home, and my mom gave me a copy of the Edgar Casey story,
Mm,
The Sleeping Prophet. And as I read it, I was like, Akashic records. Like it resonated with something inside of me. And then I was like, past lives. Wait, he's healing people with food. Like I just knew there was something more,
mhm,
you know?
mhm,
And then I went on the hunt, and this was like the early 70s. And there was like Eric Von Dayken, Chariots of the Gods. Eventually, Shirley MacLaine came out with her books about,
mm.
you
I
know,
remember that. Yeah.
you know, don't don't fall off the whatever. Um, don't fall off the mountain, and out on a limb. And there was Seth Speaks. There weren't that many things you could find.
Mhm, mhm,
But I just knew that there was something greater. I knew that I had a special relationship with Jesus.
mhm.
When I was 11 years old, um, we were at the Episcopal Church, St. John's. I was baptized as a Catholic, but as soon as my mom and dad divorced, my mom was like, "We're going back to be Episcopalians." And there's a prayer that you say, and it's, "I don't feel worthy enough to gather up the crumbs underneath your table." And I wheeled towards my mother, and I was like, "I don't like that part. I'm not going to say that part. I feel like I should be sitting at that table with God."
Mhm,
And she
mhm, mhm,
patted my knee and she's like, "Okay, honey, you don't have to say that part. But know that having a relationship with God is like planting a seed that's going to
mhm,
grow the tallest tree with the deepest roots. And you're going to have to draw on that in your
mhm,
life."
mhm, mhm,
Like,
mhm.
oh, like, my mom was a wizard. So for me, it was like 11 years. I was like buying books on how to levitate. I remember like back in the day, there was a remote control to change the channels, and it was on the coffee table, and I'm on the couch, and I literally put my hand out to like try and draw it into my hand. I
Yeah,
was,
yeah,
oh, I'm able to do that. Why isn't it happening?
right.
So it for me, it was pretty young. That was, holy crap, that was 50 years ago. I'm
Yeah.
61.
Wow.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and my life has just been 50 years of research and
Mhm, mhm.
training and mentors and books and courses and traveling the world and yoga teacher trainings and becoming a hypnotist, getting ordained in the order of Melchizedek.
Right.
Uh, like just everything I could get my hands on that had metaphysical, going to Kabbalah, going to Israel,
Mhm.
about to go to Egypt. Alicia and I are taking a whole bunch of
Yeah, I wanna talk about that too, that's exciting.
so and it was just like something was talking to me and it was beyond, it was becoming a born again Christian and then finding out I was 38% Jewish and then the whole pursuit of that and then my time in Buddhism and chanting and
Mm.
because it was like everything you know you
Mhm,
know
mhm, mhm.
so it's been with me, it came in with me, and it's, it'll be with me till I take my last breath.
Sure, sure. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, 11 is pretty young. Did you find, any sort of adversity in that, like, trying to be understood?
Oh yeah, no, I couldn't talk to anybody about it. Like nobody, there was no one to talk to.
Mhm,
There were just the only thing I could turn to were books,
mhm, mhm, mhm.
And it wasn't until 2017 that I saw a girlfriend post on Facebook
Hmm,
who was like, "Hey, I just learned to read the Akashic records and I have to practice on people. With anyone like a free reading?" And I called her on the phone. I'm like, "Tiffany, you have to do a reading for me.
mhm,
I thought you had to go to India to get your Akashic records read." She's
mm,
like, "No, I took this class."
mhm,
And then I followed the woman who wrote the quintessential book, Linda Howe. And then the end of 2017, Linda announced she was going to do a training with people around the world, a forum that was called Learn It Live, which is exactly what Zoom turned out to be.
mhm, mhm,
And 48 of us from literally around the world, like people in China and all over Europe and all over South America, we did this training together. It was really intense, stupidly expensive. But I was like, I would have, short of selling my cat, I would have done anything to be able to do this thing. And I came out of it as an advanced Akashic Records practitioner. I was told I was a guardian. I was told I had a huge relationship with the records
mhm,
and that I knew Edgar Casey. The next thing I knew, I was moving to Virginia to be
mhm,
near the Edgar Casey Center.
mhm,
So it's, life takes its twists and turns, but there wasn't anybody to talk to.
mhm,
You know,
mhm.
I, there was just, like I talked to spirit and,
Right.
you know, whenever I tried to tell anybody about that, like the conversation was brutal.
So, having said that, how do you feel these days?
Well, now I channel Ascended Masters. Listen, it used to be when I was working in finance and selling, life insurance as an investment. They said if you want to clear a room, you tell people you sell life insurance. And nowadays, if you want to clear a room, you tell people you channel Jesus.
Mhm, mhm, mhm,
So every day for the past 2 years, I have met with a group and I've either channeled Jesus, Mary Magdalene,
mhm,
Mother Mary, Archangel Michael, Sanat Kumara, Kuan Yin,
mm. Wow.
Hathor, Isis, Ra. I mean, there's a whole,
Mhm,
a
mhm,
laundry list of the beings that I channel. So now I'm the one who starts the conversations. I'm the one who, I said to one of my mentors, man, I feel like I'm a weirdo. And she goes, you are a weirdo. And that's okay. And
yeah.
I was And I was like, I really am. But it's really okay because my faith and my belief and my love is so strong. I mean, I have conversations with Jesus all the time.
Mhm,
There's
mhm.
a painting of him in my bedroom, and I meditate. And the other day I was meditating and looking at the painting, and all of a sudden the painting started moving, and he literally looked like he was going to come out of it. And I was like, hold on a second, I'm not ready for that.
Please stay in the painting,
Yeah,
just
I'm
just for now.
in 1984. So this was like what opened me up. This was like the Shakti pot, the Kundalini rising. Girlfriend from work. I'm 22 years old. Girlfriend from work invites me to come to her church, and I'd always loved church.
Mhm,
And she's like, "Come to my church." So I go to her church. I've been living in Orange County in California, and huge, like born again Christian, in this big auditorium with a long walk down to the stage, and this preacher's on the stage, and he goes, "God's telling me that there's a young girl in the audience, and she wants to come down here, and she is just so scared." And I literally feel something lift me out of my seat, and I'm like, "What's happening?"
mhm,
And I do that long walk all the way down to the stage, and I look up at him, and he looks it down at me, and he goes, "I knew it was you." And I burst into tears. And then Jesus started talking to me.
wow.
But Michael, it was things like,
Ooh, I just got crazy chills. That's awesome. I
baby,
love that story.
because he's right here. One
Yeah.
day, getting ready to go to work, and I hear this voice say to me, "Bring an extra pair of stockings." And I'm like, "I'm not bringing an extra pair." Voice goes, "Bring an extra pair of stockings." I'm like, "I'm not bringing an extra pair." I know, third time, you got to listen, right?
Right.
Fine, take the stockings, shove them in my purse, go to work. My girlfriend Mary calls and she goes, "Hey, you want to go to lunch at the Rusty Pelican?" I'm like, "Oh my God, yeah, it's Friday. They have clam chowder. I love clam chowder." So we go over there and everything's like a boat and deck motif, including wooden chairs. I sit
Mhm,
down, we have lunch. I go to get up, my stockings tear on the wooden chair. I'm
mhm.
like, "Are you kidding me?" And after work, I was going out and I was wearing black, so I had black stockings. So they're, like it's not like you could have gotten away with it because they're new
Right,
stockings.
right, 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 right.
And Jay's like, "Are you listening now? Are you paying attention now?" And we would talk all the time, and he would tell me this and he would tell me that until 1996 when I was about to marry my husband. And he said, "Don't marry him." And I was
Mm,
like, I have to.
mhm.
It's like, okay, worst 4 years of my life.
Wow.
Worst 4 years of my life.
Wow.
So I broke up with him.
Mhm.
And I mean, we've reconciled since then. I broke up with my husband, but I also broke up with Jesus at the time. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's he's like, it's all forgiven. But
Mhm,
we
mhm.
talk all the time. A friend reached me out to me today, goes, "Can you ask Jesus something for me?"
Right.
And Jesus goes, "Tell him I talk to him all the time." I said, "Jesus says you guys talk all the time." And he goes, "Yeah, but I don't want anyone to know." He goes, "But I know you're out about it, so I can ask you." I'm like, "Okay."
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the thing I love about you and the thing that has just really become an important message to me from the universe is the word authenticity.
Mm.
I mean, I
Yep.
think that you can't, it's not something that people can fake, as well as it's also it's a charismatic power
Yeah.
that draws people to you. You know what I mean? And in a good way. I mean, it can
Michael, I am about to go gray. Like
Oh, awesome.
I'm gray, but I'm like growing it out.
Right, right,
I,
right. You're
I'm like,
feeling authentic.
I'm 61. What am I like? My hair is gray. Like
Yeah.
that's authentic. Like what am I
You
doing
you
this
don't have
for?
to tell me about it. My whole face
No,
is,
dude, listen,
you
I'm
know?
so I and it's funny because people are like, "Oh my God, your hair looks so great." Like it's crazy, crazy, crazy.
Yeah,
And I'm like, what?
totally.
I literally had a girlfriend who her daughter shaved her head, and I'm like, I think I want to like go
I could totally see it. I could totally see it.
and just let it grow out, you know?
Imagine
It's
how
funny.
freeing that is, you
Oh,
know?
I had a girlfriend who said to me, "Your beauty is in your hair." So I've
Mhm,
been like, "My hair.
mhm, mhm.
My beauty's in my heart." Like,
Yeah,
please.
it's yes, it's way beyond that. And you know what? I had a ponytail for probably since I was 20 years old. I had a ponytail, mostly, on, maybe off for a year or two. But every
Yeah,
time I would cut my hair short, I would like look in the mirror and be like, "Psh, that's not me, that's not me," and I would grow it back.
right,
And then
right.
one day I was just like, I feel like it's holding me back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just
Yeah.
I'm too, and I cut it off, and I was like, "Oh, that looks great." I actually need a haircut right now, but
You have
I,
great.
I was just like, I'm still me, just like you said. Like, it's like
I'm not going to
it's
let myself be defined, by
yeah. Once there's a story I tell about self love, and
yeah,
that's really important. And that is that when you walk by a mirror or you're in the bathroom and you're looking in the mirror, and I've never had children, so I don't know this firsthand. However, what I would imagine you feel when you look at your child, right,
yeah,
is that true unconditional love. I can't imagine that, being anything other than insanely spectacular. But
yeah,
that's what you should feel when you catch a glance of yourself.
yeah,
You should be unconditionally in love with yourself. And I wasn't for a very long time. And I think,
right.
most people aren't because of what we
Uh-huh.
were talking about earlier, the school system and things we've been taught,
Yeah,
are you got to be this, you got to be that. And no
yeah.
one's taught to just be what they are, let it come out from the inside, you know what I mean? And those are such important realizations that really help people uh live a happy life, no matter regardless of what the circumstances are.
Oh, true.
I mean,
I did my first psychic training and development in 1989. And when I finished, I said, I want to open Maria Montessori type schools to teach children how to
mhm,
think for themselves.
mhm, mhm,
Why don't we teach someone how to open up a checking account, a credit card, and do their taxes rather than square dancing?
mhm,
In
mhm,
my day,
mhm.
growing up in New York, like the big thing was the Sadie Hawkins dance and, invite square dance.
I
Learn
remember it
art.
being part of physical ed curriculum, right? Square
Yeah,
dancing and yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, so it's all part of it. It's all
Totally.
part.
Totally. Well, we can talk about like the world and the paradigms that exist uh outside of ourselves, but I think we like to live, within our own paradigms and kind of understand the what our own accountability to our own existence is, that's really, I think.
When I was young, someone said to me, I mean, like 17 or 18, what do you think your sole purpose is? And without even thinking, I said, to remind people of their relationship with God. And I was like,
Mhm,
who said
mhm,
that? Where did that come from?
mhm.
And to me, that's the sole purpose that I'm living.
Right.
Because I'm a psychic, a medium, and a full body trance channel. I'm an
Mhm,
unconscious channel. So the beings come in and I'm gone. It's a
mhm,
very, very different experience. It's
mhm,
not my voice. It's not my anything. I'm a teacher. I'm a mentor. And I used to call myself a healer, but now I call myself a witness.
mhm.
Because the gift that God
Ooh.
gave me is I see the truth of people. I see people's
Mhm,
light.
mhm,
I
mhm.
see people's soul
You
consciousness.
absolutely do, yeah.
And then I know how to bring that forth.
Mhm,
It's like when
mhm.
I manifest, and I'm a huge manifester, I step out into the future where the thing I want exists, and then I turn around and I pull the present to that future. And that's how I manifest.
Ooh,
And I
that's an
meant,
interesting, I like that technique. That's
yeah,
interesting. I've never heard anyone
it,
say that.
it's stepping into the quantum. It's like folding into the quantum, and you go where it already exists. It's like the law of assumption, the Neville Goddard stuff. I got
Mhm,
to Neville Goddard and
mhm.
I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
wow. That was actually one of the things I want to talk about. I think we're we're still a little early in, but one of the things I love is your connection with quantum healing, or the quantum element
yeah,
to spirituality, because
yeah,
it's called quantum theory. It's like science is now,
oh,
studying it, and like
dude,
it's just such an amazing, way to link everything that we have been taught, because there's validity to it, you know what I mean?
yeah,
We definitely, there's no denying that we are existing in the 3D, and intentionally, and then there's a purpose for that part of existence. So understanding it more and more is amazing, right? I mean,
yep.
it's,
The
and I,
Nobel Prize just went to them in quantum, physics. I'm
mhm,
all about. I studied with a man, Dr. Vernon Wolf, for 5 years. Quantum physics, quantum mechanics, string and field theory. So I'm like, The Big Bang Theory is my favorite show because I'm like that geek. I'm like the girl geek. Like I love that stuff. And okay, listen to this. When we're born in the state of theta. So there's beta is consciousness.
mhm,
First thing toward, like when we stare into a phone or when we're watching television or we're mesmerized by something, we go into alpha. Then there's theta, and theta is the gateway for hypnosis and for the quantum realm. And
mm,
then you go into delta, and you can even go up to gamma. So what happens is in the first 5 years of life, we become so programmed and so inculcated by the thing the mother said, the thing the father said, the thing the aunt, the grandmother, the older cousin, the older sibling, the teacher, the priest, the nun, the
Mhm.
whomever, the authorities. And at about 5 years old, we've gone from theta to alpha to beta,
Mhm.
and we're like baked.
Right.
This is like who we are.
Yeah.
So when I take people, and my year-long program I call the quantum teaching curriculum, because I teach 7 courses that correspond to the 7 chakras, something at each of those levels. Quantum healing is the first, but I'm helping people to connect to the quantum aspect of their chakra systems.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
when you can access that, you can bring back anything you want, but you have to be really emotionally mature, because if you
Mhm.
think how bad something is, you will manifest that. You'll
Mhm.
manifest
Mhm.
everything.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
are these self-fulfilling prophecies,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know?
Sure. Yeah, no, I certainly subscribe to that, and I've been really wanting to work with you on those levels, but I'll be honest, I feel like I do kind of need to do some shadow work first, to
Yeah,
kind of
we
be a
we all
little
do.
bit more in a good state to even approach that, and you know what, I'm happy just even kind of knowing that, you know what I mean, and just being like, okay, I got some shadow work ahead of me. I hope it's not too bad. You know what I
No,
mean?
no. I mean, when you know that life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you,
Yeah.
you come to understand that, look, Lucifer and Michael, Archangel Michael, are twins, you
Mhm,
know?
mhm,
And
mhm,
God was
mhm,
like,
mhm.
Lucifer, I trust you. I need you to go down. I need you to represent the darkness. Michael's going to represent the light.
Right,
And he's still an angel. We're still
right,
angels. And
right.
yes, there's darkness, but Michael, honestly, it's all it is energy. So
Yeah, yeah,
emotion is energy in motion. So all it is energy that came at us too quickly, and we go, I can't experience that. And we
mhm,
stopped it, and we blocked it.
mhm,
And it has a shape and a color and a size and texture and a temperature to it.
mhm,
And when we can go in and allow ourselves to feel that, we release it. It's
mhm,
beautiful.
mhm. Yeah, totally. And that's I love to hear you talk about it that way, because that's what we always say here about energy is everything, and just, really it's like it's really such a deep sentence, even though it sounds simple. Energy is everything, as far as, like you said, emotion and action, and the physical stuff. It is everything. It's what creates everything, and understanding that and how to respond to that is so important. And that's really, I think, my message here. It's interesting. I'm gonna bring up some personal stuff. The last couple of days, I have a friend who's got a show, and he's very inspirational to me. I love what he's doing. He's a great communicator. He interviews so many people,
Mm,
um, but he's a bit of a cynic. He's not all
mm,
about positive energy and that. He's about learning. He's about so many great things, right? And that's how I see him. I'm like you. I see the light and the good in people, and I think he's a great, great guy. And he was just being kind of extra cynical, and I started chatting to him, saying, "Oh, you're in cynical mode," and just kind of goofing around with him, and it turned into this avalanche of hate and
wow.
anger, and he literally said
Mm,
"f off," and he
wow.
was saying that I was being judgmental and preachy and
Mm,
holier than thou, and I'm like, I never said I was holier than you. I was just saying how I was just talking about how if you're cynical, you're adding to the cynicism that's out there, first of all, and you can expect cynicism back.
yeah.
And he took that as I meant that he was directly responsible for some of the bad things that were going on in the world. The court case was very close to him about the policeman who locked his child in the garage, right? That was a recent case. He locked his child in the garage. The child passed away.
Mm,
So that was a few years ago, I think. And recently, you know, he was tried and found guilty. And I
mm,
think that was in my friend's neighborhood. So he
mm.
was connected to that. He's like, well, how do you account for all of this bad? How can you be happy when that's going on in the world? And I was trying to explain, like, I'm responsible for the energy that I have and the response that I have to the world. I can't be responsible for that. And he was telling me that was selfish. And anyway, I'm not going to get into it. What I feel is great is my ability to navigate the situation. You know what I mean? And be like, hey, listen, if you're going to get upset at me, that's going to be your burden to carry, and I'm still happy. I'm still a happy guy, right? Like, regardless of if you're telling me I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So again, it was a good lesson for me, and continues to be. All of my experiences, like you said, it's the awareness of life is happening for me, is what allows me to say I'm happy, and I want to be happy, and
Do you know Neville Goddard and the law of assumption?
not specifically. Tell us.
So the law of assumption is it's kind of like what I was mentioning before. You allow yourself to feel that something is a certain way, and you bring that energy to you, and you own it, and you claim it. But
Hmm.
one of the things that Neville Goddard says is everyone is us pushed out. And it is the most ultimate statement of self-responsibility.
Hmm.
So when people come in, I recently posted this video on TikTok, and the things, I mean, in my world, the thing's gone viral. It's almost at 10,000 views, and I've never had a 10,000
Wow, that's
view
that's
thing.
impressive.
But I was like, okay, the craziest thing happened yesterday. I was meditating and looking at this painting of Jesus, and the painting started moving and breathing and looked like it was going to come off. And people are like, are you on LSD? I'm sorry, but I really think you need help. Why are you lying? This is a graven image. Like the most hateful, like
Wow.
dark comments. And at first I was like, delete, block, delete, block. And Jesus is like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
These are aspects of you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, ugh, like that was the last thing I wanted to hear,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Unblock, I can't take the deleted comments away, but now I'm
Hmm.
just like, thank you for your concern, and send him a little heart and just have to look at the place inside of me.
Hmm.
So,
Hmm.
in a very adult conversation, I alone have done this to myself. You're going to have to look at the conversation with your friend, and we only ever attract to us some aspect of ourselves. So, you're going to need to take a look at somewhere that cynicism still lives inside of you.
Hmm.
Like that's the next level of responsibility when
I totally hear that, and I'm actually there. Like,
and now
I
you are.
keep he
Listen,
he.
I couldn't have this conversation with you if you weren't, right?
What's that?
I said I couldn't have this conversation with you if you weren't.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And it's interesting because a lot of times, i- in my conversation with him, he would say things similar to that. I would say, listen, I don't, just because I profess, put out positive energy and positive things happen, I don't deny that there's a dark side. I don't deny that there's duality. I
Right.
understand duality,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I also understand I can't be responsible for duality. You know what I mean? I could only be responsible for the energy that I put out in the world, and the intention that I put out in the world,
Right.
and the way I respond to what the world is giving me back, if it is that duality. And again, that's so much freedom that I don't expect everybody to understand that. And I guess I can even understand that saying that to someone would be perceived as, oh, I'm more enlightened than you. It's not what I'm saying, you know what I
No.
mean? And if that's what you're getting out of it,
Right.
that's I feel like I'm holding up a mirror, and saying,
Yeah.
"Hey,
So one of the most brilliant books that I've ever written, and it's probably one of my favorite books ever, is the Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Mhm,
So Napoleon Hill came up with the idea of the mastermind and had these invisible counselors, and he would go to the realm of theta and had them at a round table and have conversations with captains of industry, but he would also have people like Abraham Lincoln at the table
mhm,
and others.
mhm,
And he somehow managed to have a conversation with Lucifer where Lucifer had to tell him how he manages to sway humanity.
mm,
And the one stipulation that Lucifer had, he said, look, the only thing you have to do is you have to refer to me as your majesty because I think I've earned it.
mm,
And what gets revealed in the book, which is extraordinary, is that 50% of every atom is light, 50% is dark.
mhm,
But he's got 98% of humanity because he puts people into this thing called hypnotic rhythm.
mhm, mhm,
And he explains exactly how he does it. And you're like, wow, like
mm.
everybody needs to read this book, right?
Wow.
It's just so brilliant. And like Napoleon got really scared. His wife got really scared. She's like, you can't publish this book. And Lucifer said to him, "You're not going to publish this in your lifetime. And in fact, nobody in your world is going to benefit from this book." And what happened was Napoleon dies. His wife is like, "We're never publishing this book." He finished writing it in 1928, and it didn't get published till like 2018.
Wow.
You
Wow.
know,
What's the name of the book? I'm going to type it up and put it up on the screen.
Outwitting the Devil.
Outwitting
It's truly one of the most extraordinary books.
Devil.
Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. I'm going to look that up. I put that up there so I could look back and remind
Yeah,
myself without having to take a note.
yeah.
But that
It-
sounds really interesting. Yeah,
it's it's pure genius.
that's amazing.
You know, when we can own, he says, the devil says, the most dangerous man is a man who knows how to think for himself.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
what happens is, like, there's this hypnotic rhythm. It's kind of like, have you
Mm-hmm.
ever seen a leaf in a whirlpool? The
Mm-hmm.
leaf cannot pull itself out, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, but the man who knows how to stop the whirlpool, the
Mm-hmm.
man who knows to not enter the whirlpool is the critical thinker who can think for himself, you
Right,
know?
right.
Really
It's
fascinating.
incredible what's going on with critical thinking and the things that are going on. But again, I think folks like you and me, whatever, not enlightened or whatever, but we have the hope, we have the knowledge that it's the light is there, and so is the dark. But I don't know. I have nothing but hope, and
Yeah.
I feel good about the future. That doesn't mean I think, is it going to get worse before it gets better? Possibly, probably, but it's going to get better. Why? So yeah, it's going to get worse, but then
Here's
it gets better.
the good news is the light has won, as my friend Rob Scarpa loves to say.
Mm,
And we've actually never left the kingdom.
mhm,
We're
mhm,
right. We've just
yeah,
gone to sleep
yeah,
and we're dreaming.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's it.
I certainly can relate to that. So I just want to acknowledge. I've been so engrossed in this conversation. I want to acknowledge some comments, even from 9:19. So this is like 20 minutes ago.
Oh,
uh, Carla Gito says, "When the student is ready, the teacher appears." Beautiful and great teacher. Blessed to have you as to my friend, dear to my heart friend and teacher of the records. I have
oh,
avoided so long. My heart was waiting for the right one. I love you and I love you. Well, we love you too, I'm sure.
you.
I love that.
I
Julie,
posted this, so you may see a few of my people that are going to show up.
cool. Yeah, Julie says she was thinking of shaving her head.
Oh
That
my
was
God! Right? I'm ready to be over the hair. I mean, it's winter,
yeah,
so wait till
it'll come back, you know what I
But
mean?
of course, my hair grows so quickly. But
Yeah.
I'm ready to. I don't know,
Yeah, I
something.
could feel that. Tim, I had my hair long almost all my life until I shaved my head to bald to show support for my sister-in-law who was
Oh,
battling breast cancer. There you go.
that's
And
gorgeous.
that must have been freeing. And then the quiet healer says,
Yeah,
the law of assumption is powerful.
it is. It
Indeed.
is.
Oh, awesome.
Neville Goddard will knock your socks off.
I'm excited to hear that. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
totally excited to hear that.
yeah.
That's awesome. So let's shift this kind of focus to you and give you a little bit more space here. When I met you, I did come to your house in Huntington. At the time, you were doing. I think I made a banner here of your website. You opened up a place, a wellness center called Soma, right, or Soma Life. And
Yeah.
that's your website down there at the bottom if you
Yeah.
guys are interested in hearing more. But tell us how that was like a big key for you to come into your own power, right?
It was crazy. So it was July 28th, 2016. And one of my best friends, her mom had died. Her mom was a celebrity here in New York, and she lived out in California, and she was having a memorial for her mom. So I went in from my sister's house in Port Washington at the time and went to the memorial and was supposed to take a train home, but decided to take an earlier train because the memorial ended early. And I go to get on this train, and I have a cart with me that you bought at Whole Foods. I call it my travel buddy. It says Whole Foods on it. It's a little cart you wheel around, put stuff in. It has like a canvas bag on a little cinch
Mm-hmm.
thing. And I I go into the first car of the train, and I'm like, no, that's not it. And I go into the second car, and I go to sit down, and I notice out of the corner of my eye there's like a guy, and he's got a guitar and a skateboard, and I'm like, whatever. And he's sitting in a seat where there's two seats facing each other. And I'm sitting in the handicap thing where I can have my cart with me. So it's like a long seat. And a couple comes in with their little girl, and the mom and the little girl sit down. And then the dad sits next to me. And then I watch this young man get up and he's like, come sit with your family. So he gives up his seat.
Mhm.
And before he turned around, I said to him, that was amazing. And when he turned around, we looked at each other and I thought, how do I know this kid? I don't know this kid. Why does he seem so familiar? And he looked at me and he looked at my cart and he goes, I didn't know Whole Foods made those things. And he sat down and we had a 45-minute train ride from Penn State to his stop, which was Manhasset, and I was 2 stops later. And I was wearing jewelry that was made of ayahuasca, like dried ayahuasca necklace and ayahuasca earrings. And I looked at him and I said, do you know what this is? And he looks at it and he goes, is that ayahuasca? And I'm like, how on earth didn't you know that? And he had a book about the Dalai Lama
Mhm.
in his bag. And it was just like this crazy, crazy cosmic connection. And he asked me for my card
Mhm.
and I give it to him. But I'm also like, oh, the kid, this is New York. And he goes, oh, I just graduated from NYU. And I'm thinking, this kid's like 21 years old.
Mhm.
And I'm realizing he probably thinks I'm younger than I am.
Mhm.
He thought I was 32 and I think I was 54 at the time. So I'm like, look, this is not any kind of hookup thing, but we
Right.
both had this vision to open up meditation and wellness centers. So his name was James,
Mhm.
and he came over. That was on a Thursday. He came over a couple days later, and I had texted him 15 screenshots of a business plan I had written for a wellness center like 20 years ago. And he typed the whole thing. And he comes over to the house and I'm messaging my sister and I go, hey, I met this guy on the train. She's like, what? Are you crazy? You brought some stranger to mom's house. And I'm like, it's okay. His parents are doctors. He lives in Manhasset. And she's like, oh, okay. But there was such a connection that like we just went into business and we're like, we're going to open this business together. And I lent him a bunch of books in a bag that I had that was from Soma. And his best friend Jesse's over and he goes, why don't you call it Soma, but SOHMA? And he goes, what would it stand for? And James goes, the seed of humanity's manifest ascension. And that's how Soma started.
Wow.
We spent the next year like bringing people in, kind of creating this idea of what it was going to be. And we were going to rent a place in town in Huntington for like $3,000 a month,
Mhm.
which would have been everything we made at that time. And my mother goes, why don't you use the family room? So that's, the big room that we have here in the house.
Yeah.
And we painted, we took out the carpet, we put in new flooring, we spray painted Reiki symbols in the floor. There's a Merkaba spray painted in the middle floor. There's a flower of life on the ceiling. We painted one of the walls, my favorite color of blue. And we had this opening. We started leading meditations. And in the 4.5 years that we were open, we had over 850 people come through, over 475 events, and over 50 different speakers. And we started this business, including launching the Psychic Development Academy with Sarah Curley,
Mhm.
Joseph Dyro, and Daniela Natra, who were like big psychics on the island. And,
Mhm.
I was, and I had done training with Winterbrook Ryan. I mean, we started this business together. And
Mhm.
then the pandemic hit, and then everything kind of went online. And then my business took off because I learned about online coaching and online business.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, it's ridiculous what's happened. And, I'm what's available in this world
Mhm. Mhm.
is incredible. And
Mhm.
all you have to do is believe in yourself. And, I have touched thousands and thousands and thousands
That's
of lives.
amazing. That's so beautiful.
I've trained people to read the Akashic records. I've trained them to be
Right.
psychics. I've trained them to be mediums. And now I'm training teachers to help me teach my curriculum.
Right.
We have a course, a
It's
year-long course.
amazing.
Got 18 people coming up that are going to be in it. And I mean, just, it's such a blessing, Michael. It's
I was gonna say earlier that I think you were talking about, how this was happening to you and you were starting to read Akashic records and your early part of this journey. Um, all I kept thinking of, well, of course, because you were so open to it, you know what I mean? That's why it was happening so clearly and rapidly. And now you're talking about what's happening now, and I feel like, well, of course, because you're more open to it now, even, you know what I mean? And it's like almost like what happened in the past on steroids. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that
Yep.
and that's that's really what I feel like. I'm able to achieve as well. Like I feel like I'm not where I want to be, but I don't even want to say that. See, I know not even to say that out loud, just because the power of words and thoughts. There are certainly goals that I have, uh, to change certain things and to lead a more happy life,
Yeah.
meaning spending all of the time doing what I love, and I am so aware of that and my intentions. I recently had a situation that I think I've talked about here on the live stream, at work, where I asked for a raise, and there's no money, to be given as a
Mhm.
raise. And I was viewing the situation as the year and a half that I spent. I realized my value. I was like, wow, I
Beautiful.
totally see what my value was, right? But
Yeah.
then when I went and talked about it, and asked for a raise, or I don't want to get too specific, but in that situation, when I was told there wasn't money, it was almost like somebody else was telling me that wasn't my value. And what I realized in that moment was I didn't need that person to recognize my value.
Yep.
I needed to recognize my value.
Yep.
And my life has been different ever since that moment. And is it happening slowly? Yes. But is it happening like, okay, so I'm going to tell the Wordle story, because this is so amazing, right? So I met some people, that some opportunities are happening, but I'm fostering them. You know what I mean? I'm kind of shaping those opportunities and creating them, and it just feels amazing. Are you familiar with Wordle, the game Wordle?
I play it every day.
Okay, so you're gonna really appreciate this story. Okay, I'm having a meeting, with one of these guys, and I'm just talking about some of the possibilities for the future, and it's going phenomenally. Okay,
Mhm.
and I'm just over the moon ecstatic, but I'm very cautious. I don't like to count my chickens before they hatch, right? And it's funny because they keep saying, like, well, you've got a basket full of eggs, don't even worry about them hatching, just keep your
Right.
eggs in the basket, you know what I mean? um and I get up to I excuse myself, I have to go to the bathroom. and I realize on my way to the bathroom, so I play Wordle every day as well, and we have a group message in my family, because we all enjoy it so much that we
Yeah.
post our scores in the group message, and like
Right.
cheer each other on or whatever. So I'm going to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh, I didn't play Wordle today.
Mm.
And I'm in the bathroom, I pull out my phone, and I'm like, I feel like this is like life changing. This could be really something amazing. What's a 5-letter word for life changing? Or what's a 5-letter word? And I typed in the word ALTER, alter, and I got it on the first try.
I remember that. Remember the day that was the word.
How crazy is that?
I've never gotten the first, but I've gotten the second a few times. And I play with some friends, and they're like, "Stop asking Jesus to help you." Suddenly it comes into my head.
You know what? I feel like that when I get it on a second try, which is tough also. Like, there's definitely intuition involved, but there was
Totally.
no doubt that this was so, like,
Yeah.
the universe just saying paching, bingo. And like it was,
If you ask, they'll tell you.
yeah, yeah.
It's
And I
ask
did. I
give
did. I
the
asked. I'm like, what's the 5-letter word?
right? No, it's the law of attraction. It's the
Yeah,
Abraham Hicks stuff. Ask and it
yeah,
is given.
yeah.
Alicia and I are just about to launch another mastermind. We just did a 2-month mastermind. We're calling it Your Year of Abundance for
Hmm.
people.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so cute. We have these 9 students that signed up, and we're launching them. We're helping them launch their online businesses.
That's
And
amazing.
she's like, "This was such a success. Let's do it again." And I go, "Okay, but let's do it around a theme." And I said, "What about Ask and It Is Given?" And I said, "We can buy everybody the book, and
Hmm.
we'll do like a mini book club, and we'll
Hmm.
teach them how to keep growing their business, like it's your year of abundance, level
Hmm.
2."
Hmm. Hmm.
And when you ask, they will give it to you. So I heard this crazy woman on TikTok the other day. TikTok, by the way, is phenomenally spiritual. Phenomenally spiritual. It's crazy.
It's very community oriented. So when you find the right community, it's
Ugh.
huge. Yeah,
And they keep
absolutely.
feeding it. So
Yeah.
this girl goes, "Listen, I have a hack for manifestation. She goes, you tell the universe
Mhm.
what it is that you want, and then you say, here's what I'm going to do today.
Mhm.
Universe, I can't handle the rest, please give me the rest. And she said within 24 hours, 2 opportunities for this thing to manifest came from the universe.
Wow.
And I'm like, that makes total sense. So I said, universe, Lisa and I just launched this, retreat for Egypt. Please help us fill it. And literally the first day, 2 girls signed up, then another girl signed up, then a guy signed up, then another girl signed up. And it was like in 4 days,
Amazing.
5 people had signed up. And this is like a,
It's
four and
high
five.
end. Yeah, yeah. It's a high end experience.
No, we're doing a luxury cruise
Yeah.
to Egypt. It was so cute. And, like you just never know. Like you literally ask for it. You assume that it's going to come. The universe wants to give you everything you want.
Right.
And you just order that stuff up and it
Well,
shows.
I think what's really cool about watching what you're doing and seeing that kind of come up and then be filled so quickly and just
Crazy.
everything that's going on with you. I want to just talk about Alicia for a moment because she
Yeah.
is also somebody who I met separately from my relationship with you, and again, just like there's such an authenticity
Yeah.
there, which
Yep.
is I think even more so interesting with Alicia, because I think that's probably tougher for her to get people to see than you. But I think people do see it, and I think she is such a amazing power, and I think the two of you together
It's
is it's
what we
beyond. I mean, it's like you know
I said the reason she's 4'10" is the universe couldn't handle any more light coming out of that tiny little. What's
That's so
good is
funny.
both of our fathers were born in Guyana in South America.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
she's probably the closest thing that I have to a daughter. I as well didn't have children.
Right,
I And she's just like, it's so easy between us. We've never had a crossword.
right.
She showed up for an event that I was having in August of 2018, and an incredible woman named Elaine. No, God, Elaine Mackel, who
Mhm,
does these metal singing bowls, had this huge, huge metal singing bowl. And Alicia, being as tiny as she just crawled inside of the bowl. It was just the cutest thing I'd ever
that's so
seen.
cool.
And she's now my chief marketing officer. She's one of the C-suite
Awesome.
executives of the corporation.
That's
And
awesome.
she did incredible work for me. It allowed her to buy a house in Costa Rica.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but the two of us together, it's magic. Like I can't even explain it.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
I think for people that are in tune, obviously we know that people have to be in tune with that, but for people
yeah,
that are in tune, it's not only evident, but it's like a palpable thing. Like I was talking about before, that charisma, that kind of draws people to you guys.
yeah, yeah.
So
Really,
congratulations on all of
really.
that. Oh,
In
hold
fact,
on a second,
um,
my screen went blank here.
oh, listen, Sherry, one of the girls who's here, she just texted me. She says, I need to do more readings for people to get to my 50. Sherry is also another very gifted Akashic reader. And she
Okay,
said, offer Michael a free Akashic record reading for me.
awesome. I will take it, Sherry.
Okay. Sherry, I'll connect you guys on
Yeah.
Facebook for sure.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. I love diving deep, and I think what's so interesting for me is we're connected to a lot of the same people. You were talking earlier about Sarah Curley, um,
Hmm.
and Sarah was one of the people that for me changed my perception on what channeling was. Channelers in general. Um, before I experienced Sarah, I had experienced channelers online on YouTube, and
Hmm.
it's funny because I say this and I almost laugh, but like the minute that they would start talking about the Galactic Council,
Yeah.
I was like, this is way too much for me.
Right.
I didn't understand it. And when I met Sarah Curley through Stephen Durante was doing the White Light events at the time,
Yeah.
he said, "Hey, I'm having this woman come on. She's a channeler. Let me know what you think." And he sent me her YouTube video, and I started watching. I was like, "Oh, a channeler." She started talking light language,
Yeah.
and I
Surreal.
literally had an emotional response to it. I
Yeah.
started crying. I was just like, "Oh my God,
Sur-
wait, well, what's going on here?"
It's
And
surreal.
yeah,
And when dialects, she's like, here's what the Pleiadians are, and here are the Arcturians, and here are the ones from Lyra, and here are the ones from Sirius. And you can tell. Sarah came here and It was so crazy. Somebody was like, "Can you channel Jesus?" And she's like, "Let me ask." And Jesus is like, "Why not?" And
Right.
she brought him through. She was the first time I saw someone channel Jesus live. And
Oh, you popped away. I hope your phone didn't
sorry,
die.
no, no,
Nope.
no, no.
Somebody
I,
call you.
I know I had an alarm. I have an
Oh,
alarm set at 56 of every hour, so I spend time with Jesus for 4 minutes.
can I ask you a favor? And I'm going to be sorry I didn't ask this
Yeah.
of you earlier. What happens if you turn your phone sideways?
Turn my phone sideways. I turn my phone sideways.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Oh,
I
okay.
love it.
And then,
Oh,
so if I look here,
yeah.
am I looking at you?
You are.
Okay, good. All right. So here's the thing. I was just about to log on to my laptop where you would have had this whole view of me. And at the last minute, my Mac doesn't support StreamYard, and I couldn't
Oh,
get to
download
Chrome quick
Chrome
enough.
and
So I
stuff.
just
Right.
threw on the phone. So
You
sorry
know
for
what?
that.
The sound is great. The sound is great, and
It's
I'm. You
nice.
know what? Usually, I'm like the first thing I do because I'm like OCD about it. But I was just so excited to see you. I didn't even
I'm
realize.
so sorry
I
about
didn't
that.
even realize it until now. So it's all good.
Yeah.
You got away with it.
Here, I'm
Um,
gonna I got a couple books. Let me raise this up really
okay,
quickly. Okay. There we go.
awesome.
Okay. Anyways, yeah, Sarah's amazing. So somebody said, Jesus, is there anything that you want us to know that, hasn't been made public about you? And he said, uh, he goes, I had children. And I knew that because I had a memory of being one of his younger sisters, and I used to babysit the children. And
Wow,
at that time, I was bringing forth Mary Magdalene. The very first thing that Magdalene said when she came through to me was, "Thank you for taking care of the children," which is what she always used to say to me. And so it was like I knew it was her. I've had so much past life work done, and so many memories, and so much, like it just, there's no way, like, you can't make this stuff up, is my tagline.
totally. Yeah,
Can't
totally,
make this stuff up.
totally.
Yeah.
Well, so you know what? I'm going to ask something of you. I'm going to put you on the spot here a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah. Please.
and whatever you say is totally the acceptable answer.
Yeah.
But you set an alarm, and you like to spend some time with Jesus. Any chance you can channel him for us? Is that something that's you have to prepare for, or
Oh, yeah, I can totally do that.
I would love to spend a couple of minutes with that. That would be
Yeah.
insane.
Hold on one second. Let me do this. Okay, so here's what happens. He's already starting to move in. So I bring him in, and when he comes in, it's just it's like, I don't know, what do I need to say? It's him. He's like an everyday guy. So here we go. There's a little yawning that happens as I transition. Hmm. Greetings, beloved.
Hello.
We thank you for calling forth our presence. Hmm. Hmm. Greetings, beloved one. Beloved, you must understand that you and I have a relationship that is ancient. There is no point in your existence where there is anything that you have experienced that I have not, for I am and always have been with you through everything. You are beloved to me. When it comes to naming a child, think to this conversation. What would be the name that you would wish to name a child? This is a question I have for you, beloved one. Many would want to name their children after themselves. You would have a son and you would say, I would name this child Michael. Yet, what is it that you want to be remembered for is the way that you have loved this child, the way that you have cared for this child. Understand that there is indeed a child who wishes to be born of you. When it comes to the naming of this child, let it be a name of love. Let it be a name that brings peace. For this being is a being of such light. Beloved, is there a question that you would like to ask?
I'm just so thankful to be in your presence right now.
Beloved brother, I am thankful to be in your presence right now.
I know.
We thank you. We thank you for the work that you do. We thank you for the consciousness that you bring. We thank you for the love that you are.
Thank you.
Indeed. Beloved, we would like you to reach out to Sahana Grace so that we may have an extended conversation. There is much for us to say.
Awesome. Thank you.
Indeed. Blessings to you. Keep the faith. And indeed, we shall speak with you again.
Wow. Crazy.
It's the love that comes through that you can feel, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
It reduces me to tears, so I get it.
yeah, no, and I felt it coming on like immediately, like, just like amazing. It's I don't know what everybody else was experiencing, but that was very, very personal. So thank you. I appreciate that
Yeah, you're
a
welcome.
lot, and we will definitely talk more outside of this show. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for doing that.
His energy's still pulling out. When I channel, I yawn. I don't know what that's about. I don't know what anybody else.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Julie sees that and is so powerful and beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Jill.
Yeah, totally
Really?
amazing. Yeah, I don't even know what to say after that, other than you have been so amazing to talk to, as I imagine you will always be, and you always have been. It's always been that way between you and I. So I'm glad we finally got the opportunity to do this on the live
Me
show of
too.
consciousness. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you. Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you. Thank you. If anybody wants to reach out, if anybody wants to talk, if anybody has questions, if I can ever be of service, you can find me on my website. You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. If you can't find me, you're not looking hard enough.
Doing so many amazing things. There's also a trip. Are there any spaces left to Egypt?
Yeah, we actually still have 5 spaces left.
Awesome.
And there's 2 more people that have stepped forth, but deposits haven't come in yet. And then we're going to have a retreat to Virginia Beach. We're going to have a retreat to Mount Shasta.
Awesome.
So there's some more really cool stuff coming up, and there's always classes, there's training, there's teaching, there's healing. I've got amazing students, amazing students.
Yeah.
That love to help people as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we will definitely talk. But you know what I love, and this is something that I think very interesting. Some people had said to me many years ago, and people who were not specifically psychic mediums, or they were just friends. Two
Yeah.
separate people on separate occasions said they had these dreams where they saw uh, my work on a billboard,
Hmm.
whatever it was, my photography work or my graphic work, whatever it was. They saw my work on a
Yeah.
billboard and me on top of a mountain, just kind of like looking and being happy and traveling.
Love
And
that.
so I always knew that whatever it was that I ended up doing, it was going to actually allow me to travel. And I see that's happening with you and Alicia and with Steve and Durante, creating these retreats that are so important, and so significant. And
Yep.
it's like, not only are you like helping people and having these profound
Yeah.
experiences, in all sorts of amazing places, but you're traveling and really experiencing life the way I think we're all supposed to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So let me put you backstage and sign off and hang on, because then and we will talk. But again, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome, my love.
And
It's my pleasure. Thank you
we'll,
so much for having me. I'm
you're welcome
grateful.
back anytime, and
Thanks.
we'll talk about that as well. So
Okay. Great.
see you in a minute. Whew, let me breathe out. That was something to process. I don't know how you guys felt about that, but that was really powerful for me. I'm super excited that Lynn was so generous and Jesus was so generous, with their presence to do that and be in my presence. It felt right. It felt good. It was supposed to happen. So I will see you guys next week. Next week, I have an amazing artist. Lisa Fazio is coming on, and she does soul portraits, some really interesting work that I think is a good combination of healing and awareness, and then actual like physical, 3D artistic talent. I think there's some really cool stuff being done with that. So we will meet her next week. Until then, I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Peace out.